Good morning, everybody. My name is Jon Taylor, and I'm from Studio A5, MKA Video, all-around video guys. So welcome to the Connect Show, and we want to help you do business better. Our amazing guests are going to share life-changing experiences to help you get more sales, save time, and accelerate your business.
I am Kim Knock, founder and owner of Opportunities Knocking. I help coaches, entrepreneurs, small business owners, and leaders find their voice on social media through personal connection and events.
I'm Dottie Posto, founder and owner of In Plain Sight. I am a leadership consultant and a coach, and I help people who are working their butts off and would love to get a life back. So I am also working in building retreats out, so we'll talk about that at another point sometime. But one of the things that I wanted to share with this group that I have really learned over the last year is that oftentimes what we coach people on, we are learning and we need to learn. I have found myself working after dinner a couple of times, and I'm just like, dude, you got to stop.
Coach the coach.
Coach the coach.
Yeah, and you know, I did a thing on YouTube last week on things that you should do for YouTube on the Keeping It Real with AI segment. Same thing. Those are the things that I need to do, so I've been implementing those all week. So the things that we share here are things that definitely we need to learn.
Congratulations to you too. I'm still trying to figure it out. Tara said during our New Year, New You event, purpose is the antidote for anxiety and depression.
I am convinced, after the work I've been doing for years in my own life and my clients, that purpose is the antidote to anxiety and depression. Like many of you, I tried to do the right thing ever since high school. I went to college and I studied and got decent grades and I got a good job and I worked my way up the corporate ladder. But then I got there after 15 years in this company and I thought, what am I doing? Like, is this what it's all about? Is this what I worked so hard to get to? Why am I here? So this is where I did something different than probably many of you. I left. I left a struggling relationship. I left my home. I left my country. And I started traveling around the world solo on a quest for the discovery of deeper level happiness and fulfillment. And what I found was there is an opportunities, infinite opportunities for another life that you can create on your own. We all get to be the author of our own story. And I believe that you can create success in a way that aligns with what your soul calls for you to do.
I am so happy that I got to relive that moment from Tara from the New Year, New You event, where she said purpose is the antidote for anxiety and depression. Defining your purpose, bringing it home. I am still to be determined trying to define my purpose, but it's becoming more in alignment. And really what it always seems to come down to is connecting people together. I've been jokingly called Connector Kim sometimes for the networking events. So somehow aligning my business into connecting with people. Hello, Connect Show. Kind of works.
Yeah.
So with that, with Tara's conference, I was at the conference and just rewatching it just brings it home. And my purpose is really about authenticity. It's about deep connection, and it's about elevating women. Because I just think that there's nothing against dudes. You know, I work with men as well, just saying, but just to really elevate women to their purpose, to their power, to their authenticity. I think that too often women are socialized to be what other people need and want them to be. And that happens in the workplace, which is why a lot of women feel they have to work more hours and work harder and work, you know, in a different way than what's really authentic for them. So bringing them back to their authentic core, their preferences and gifts and talents.
So, when I think about finding that purpose, for me, it meant a lot. I went through some dark times last year, and I feel like I didn't have a purpose. I talked last week that my purpose is to connect people. That's my word of the year. And the action that I want to use to connect people is to really bet on myself and focus on uh, what services and what things that I could do, courses and trainings. Can I be a speaker? Can I be brave enough and bold enough to step out on the stage and do those things? So I'm horribly insecure of my abilities and my self everything, like all of those self things. I know that I'm capable, and in the past I've given weight to things that I've heard from others and things that I hear from myself, or what others might think, what I might think that others think, right? So there is a saying that says, if you walk into a room and you believe that everyone hates you or everyone loves you, either way, you're right. And I think that's such a powerful statement. And where I've let that statement evolve is, what if I walked into a room and I wasn't thinking about if everyone loved me or everybody hate me? What if I just thought about, I'm being the best version of myself. I've done everything that I can to be in gratitude, to be a good person, and I don't give a fuck what everybody thinks about
Yes, sir.
me. And I'm just going to live my best life and be myself. So that's the attitude that I want to go into this year.
Mic drop.
There you go.
Oh. Finding purpose is amazing, and we will add a link to Tara's upcoming event below so you can see her on her virtual or live events here. There is upcoming events definitely right here in Milwaukee if you're interested in attending. All right, we are going native. Our first guest is Eric Clark. Eric is the proud dad of 3 little ones under 6, lives in Lake Country, Wisconsin, and has co-founded Okayest Hunter and Outland, while achieving his career goals as director of digital at Gunpowder Inc., a PR and communications agency rooted heavily in the outdoors and enthusiast categories.
Eric, welcome to the show. What
Thank
do
you.
you mean by going native?
Going native, could be interpreted a lot of different ways, but essentially the saying of content is king, and you can't feed enough content to the social media beast that exists out there. I believe just as much as content is king, context is God. So putting out content native to the platform you're trying to reach your audience on is really critical.
So why don't you give us a little bit of background and show us how you're connecting the community?
Sure. For me, I like to maximize our social media footprint by finding or identifying something we call feedback loops. And in doing so, what I mean by feedback loop is we'll put out the same piece of content, slightly different and nuanced in the different platforms that we're posting to, whether that's IG Reels, Twitter or X, TikTok, YouTube, so forth. And we'll see these responses start to come back from the audience or the people that follow us. And they're giving us our next piece of content. So we're just pulling those threads. So by the time we put another piece out, it's like the comments are, this is me, and they're nudging their buddy and tagging them saying, like, this is us. Like, oh my God, I felt this. And it's
like
a lot of that
predicting
type
the future,
yeah, it's
kind
really
of,
interesting.
right?
So we're able to connect with them on a very deep level by just engaging in feedback loops and social listening.
That's amazing. So if I were building a social media strategy, what should I pursue? Do you make videos or podcasts? Are podcasts still a thing? Is AI taking over everything? What should I do?
I think it depends on where you're comfortable. So we go to market heavily with podcasts. We have an editorial arm. We also have a TV show on YouTube in Carbon TV. And so whether you're strong as a writer, strong as someone that talks, or you're really comfortable on video, do whatever it is you're comfortable doing those things, wherever you're strongest, and then you can find ways to supplement where it makes sense. Like, I'm a really weak writer, but we hire writers based on the revenue we earn from the podcast, so I don't have to write. I can just continue to do the thing that I'm good at. And all of those things are things that we can repackage and put back out to social to continue to grow.
I love the repackage and repurposing. Like, you don't have to always make brand new. I love that.
You'd be surprised.
So what you're saying is that you don't sit and ponder great ideas for content from within. Instead, you go out and ask your community, or you listen to your community and then bring those questions and answer them in following posts.
Yeah, a big thing that I've learned in doing content for a number of years now. OKS Hunter has been a business for going on 3 years, but I've been doing this for probably a decade. Is I used to be very subjective about like, this is the piece of content, I know this one will win, and I would go to market with that, post it, and it'd be crickets. And then the one I did, you know, in between the kids yelling and letting the dogs out and maybe managing the grill, okay, I just got to get this thing out of here, I'm getting interrupted. Boom, that one does 1 million views. I'm like, what? What the heck? So I've learned to just, you know, I think one of the sayings I've heard from some others is, what about quality? Aren't you sacrificing quality? Speed or quantity leads to quality. The faster and more you put out content, the higher the quality it becomes. And the quality for us is the message itself. Sometimes the production value may be not as great, but the content is there, and most people are willing to sit through poor production quality or poor audio if they really want to get at the meat of what's being talked about. And as money comes in, you can level those other things up. One of the best reviews we ever got on our podcast, I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago, is the quality of this show is amazing, 5 stars. The quality, not so great, you got to work on that. And I was like, well, that's fantastic. We can buy new equipment, but we can't get better at the quality of the show. We have that part down. That's the hard part to get to.
And they still give you 5 stars. Congratulations
Yeah.
on that.
Yeah,
Amazing.
absolutely. Now, you mentioned this speed part. Do you, like, all of a sudden get into a role where you have to keep responding and you spend hours just going back and forth with new content because of what's coming in?
I think, you know, TikTok has made that really kind of fun where you could reply with video. Instagram now has adopted that. So oftentimes, like, again, they're giving me some of these content ideas, the audience. So someone will comment on one video, and the comment will be something that I know is controversial or a really, you know, abstract question. Reply with video, we put that out, and then again, we're just going deeper and pulling these threads. So, you know, we can make higher quality content by just simply listening. So to your point about like community management and going into the DMs or the comments and that hand-to-hand combat, it is laborious. Like there is some component there that is, there's no shortcut to that part. That part is what makes everything else easier, though. So you're spending more time listening and then less time producing, so to speak.
I think a lot of people have that fear of they just want it perfect. It has to be perfect before they put it out, and so instead they're not putting it out at all.
Yeah. Or they're afraid of being pulled into this, especially if social media isn't their primary thing.
Right.
And they're like, well, I'm a coach, I'm a speaker, I'm a this, I'm a that. I don't want to spend 8 hours on social. I don't have the time. I need to take care of my clients.
Yep. There's ways you can bake in, I don't know how to say this, bake in whatever your content modality is, you can bake in extra like force multipliers into what you're doing. So for this show, as an example, if there's segments to the show, one segment might be able to be pulled out and used as those social clips. So you're not pilfering through the whole entire thing to create that content. One of the examples, we did a segment called Most Memorable Hunts. And so we would ask, you know, the guest, hey, what's your most memorable hunt? And they would share it. Most of the stories were pretty good. And we would take that story, got that out of the long form 60-minute podcast, send it to an intern, and that intern would film score the audio and add these really dramatic backdrops, like crescendos and sound effects, and then we would take that story and gift it back to our guests to say thank you. They would share it, we would share it back out as a mini episodic. Even though people have probably already heard it, they didn't hear it like this. So it was a new piece of content that we could repurpose for social, and it just maximized what we were already doing.
And now they're helping you distribute.
Correct. And they felt really, wow, you made my story that I already meant something to me more special. So it was really a force multiplier.
I love that because you're giving them the opportunity to reshare, and when they do, that brings in the organic people to both of you, which is a beautiful situation. So in the beginning, we talked a little bit about going native. Let's dive into going native on social media.
Some folks have platforms that they are really strong in. It might be Instagram, it might be LinkedIn, it might be TikTok, it could be Facebook. Likely, though, there's a platform where you're not as strong as, just by default. Like you haven't put the focus there, the audience hasn't grown as fast, or maybe you missed the wave, or whatever that looks like. And TikTok is a really fun one, and X or Twitter is another really fun one. The reason I say that is because you could post 8 times a day to TikTok and it wouldn't be enough if you could stand that. So that being said, if you're uncomfortable trying something new and you're afraid how your audience is going to respond to that, you can start to dump a lot of that stuff on TikTok to see how people will respond, and you can start to build up your own level of comfortability around that. And then as certain things start to take off, inevitably, if you have 8 at-bats per day, not to say that you need to post that much, it could be once or twice or whatever, the more at-bats you have, the more likelihood you're going to knock one out of the park. And that one that you knock out of the park can now come over to your other channel. Algorithmically, it's been proven to show that the human beings like this content. So it'll likely perform as well on another platform as it did elsewhere. Same thing with Twitter or X is, I actually use it as a, if I have an idea that strikes me or an aha saying or something, I just go right there and write it down post. And I could do that 12 times a day. I don't care about the virality or the feedback or the comments there. We get them, but it's not our primary platform. What I do then is I screenshot the ones that win, turn them into a one-by-one graphic, put it on Instagram, and those will reach millions of people. So it's like a way for me to, again, maximize things. So I'm not working so hard to do this stuff. And I'm using the social media as a tool as much as I'm using it for an organic growth strategy.
Yeah, it's like a research tool. That's awesome.
That is so smart.
Yeah.
Like I mean, I do social media. I am just processing all of this on my own, and I'm gonna go test some theories. TikTok, staff my TikTok because that's where Ugly's going.
So if I'm still not feeling like I have my social media voice yet, how can I get started to work out my material and just get more comfortable with being on social, especially the video part?
Find others that you could mimic, and you could do like, there's an old school, I'm not that old, but I'm not that young, I'm in that middle spot, I'm 37, but there was an artist back in the early 2000s, well, mid-2000s, 2008, 2010, called Girl Talk. And so his artist name was Girl Talk, and if you go to YouTube, you type in Girl Talk, you'll find him, but he was called a mashup artist. So he would take like 50s, 60s, 70s beats and mash them with like modern rap or pop songs. And it was this mashup, and it became something new in and of itself. So if you find, like, maybe you love Stoic philosophy, you follow Ryan Holiday or the likes of Marcus Aurelius, and you like this other thing about, imposter syndrome or something like that, you could blend, what do those two people have to say? You can go to ChatGPT and say, hey, blend these two topics for me and tell me where you source that article from. And now I have something new to talk about, and I could kind of create my own path. Or you could simply just look at people you do like or want to mimic their style, and you could do that. It doesn't need to be your face. It doesn't have to be you. Like the thing with TikTok even a year ago is, I don't want to dance on TikTok. Well, that's not all you need to do. There's people that just simply do Microsoft Excel videos, and they crush millions of views because they're just showing you how to organize Microsoft Excel. Wow. So it doesn't have to be, well, sexy. It could be very dry, and it'll still work.
That's awesome.
So I'm really thankful for a lot of the things that you had to say, especially the native approach. And I'm gonna go follow you on a lot of your stuff and see how your native approach is working. How else can we support you or your channel? Let's connect with each other.
We happen to be in Wisconsin, and it's usually it's like the degrees of Kevin Bacon. So almost anybody I talk to in this state, oh, my uncle hunts, my grandpa hunts, my brother-in-law hunts, someone knows someone that hunts. Whether or not you do, if you want to see us as an exemplar putting out content in a niche audience where we can still actually earn an income without being Mr. Beast, we speak to a very niche audience, and therefore brands want to reach our audience. It makes a lot of sense, but you can go to okayesthunter.com. That's OKAYEST hunter.com, and that'll take you to all of our social properties. We're on every single one of them in droves. And if you need to reach me directly, it's sales@okayesthunter.com.
Amazing. It was absolutely wonderful to have you today.
Yeah, thanks for joining
Thank
us,
you so
Eric.
much.
Yeah.
Great info.
Fabulous. Welcome to another segment of LinkedIn Highlights with Heike. Today I want to talk about some of the changes that LinkedIn is implementing. For starters, the algorithm is being updated to focus more on the quality of your posts versus the virality of it, which means that depending on what the content is, LinkedIn will serve up your posts to different audiences. So for instance, if you are an industry expert in a particular field, they are more likely to share an industry-related post with others in your industry. While if you happen to post something personal, they will more likely share it with your first-level connections. The other thing that they've really been working on is that they will put more emphasis on the first 60 minutes after you post something in terms of how much interaction that post gets from your audience. Depending on the amount of interaction, they will or will not share your post further out, because they always just start with a small segment. Another change that is being rolled out, and any rollout on LinkedIn takes anywhere from 30 to 90 days. So some people may already have this, others not. You may be familiar with seeing on people's profiles hashtags, 5 hashtags in their header section of what they primarily talk about. This is a function of them having what's called creator mode turned on, and this creator mode is going away. So will those hashtags in the profile header. The other thing that turning on creator mode did is reshuffle the sequence of the about section and the activity section. So people that had creator mode on had the activity section above the about section, and that will flip again, and it'll be consistent for everyone where about comes first. In addition, when someone turned on creator mode, their connect button turned into a follow button. A lot of people did not like that, and what LinkedIn is going to be rolling out is that you can choose if you want people to follow you or connect with you. My personal preference is still connect, because once they connect with me, I can talk with them on the behind-the-scenes messaging app. Whereas with followers, I can't do that unless, of course, I want to use InMail. And so I recommend to most of my LinkedIn clients that they keep the button at connect. So those are some of the highlights. There are other changes coming. In fact, it turns out that this year so far, they've already rolled out 24 changes. So we'll hear about some of those additional changes in future episodes. So I hope you'll join me again for a LinkedIn highlights segment with Heike in the future. And absolutely do go ahead, find me on LinkedIn and reach out and connect.
We are talking more about social media, and our next guest is not a social media manager, but a photographer. Paul Hannon is a studio headshot and portrait photographer based in Milwaukee, focused on expression coaching that creates a valuable first impression.
As a photographer, how did you learn so much about social media?
I realized that my business is only really like 10% photography. The rest of it is business. It's administration, accounting, marketing, sales and marketing, and a big segment of marketing is on social media. It's free. You can do a lot of different things. So that's how I've kind of come to realize that there's this like 90-10 split, 90% admin.
Interesting way to put that. So you developed a step-by-step method, and you even have a workbook on how to use LinkedIn. And I want to dive into that. But first, we're going to learn a little bit more about you. And how long have you been in business?
I've been in business since 2017. It was about 7 years, specifically headshots. I've learned from the best in the world. There's a photographer out in New York who I've learned from, and I have great client success of over 100 5-star reviews.
Congratulations on
That's
that.
awesome.
That
Yes.
is amazing.
And
That's a milestone.
my clients are the best, really. It's such a treat to work with each of them. But beyond that, beyond business and beyond photography, I'm also a musician. I play every once in a while at my church.
Every once in a while.
Yeah.
What instruments do you play? Just
Guitar and drums.
guitar and drums. Very fun. Very fun. My daughter's a musician, so
Oh,
she plays
awesome.
all of them. Whatever she can get her hands on.
That's awesome.
That's awesome. So before we get into the strategy and the tactics, we like to start with mindset. So when we're talking about LinkedIn and the technique that you've developed, how can you get our audience in the right frame of mind to be able to make this method work?
Sure. Well, the mindset that I really approach towards LinkedIn and all my social media, but I mainly focus on LinkedIn, is that it's a relationship tool. And so if I'm going into this thinking, my purpose on here is to connect with people and build some sort of relationship, friendship, business relationship, whatever. But then I get into my strategy, which I call post, engage, connect, which we'll talk about here in a little bit. It's what's helped me get from 500 followers to over 6,000, and it's something that's worked for me. I'm excited to share about it.
That's impressive.
So we'll break down the method, obviously, but first we have a workbook that the guests can download. There will be a link in the screen. And you brought us a copy to work through. So let's get this party started. Paul, let's go.
Sure. It's called Post, Engage, Connect. It's, like I said, my strategy, my way I've built up my LinkedIn platform. Really how it works is I want to post 1 to 3 times a week. I want to engage 3 to 5 times per week, and then I want to connect with 5 people a day. And I can break that down for you a little bit more.
So before you actually go on that, I know that and if you're going to cover this, let me know.
Yeah.
1 to 3 times a week doesn't seem like a lot for posting.
No, right.
From what I've heard.
The reason why I have these numbers specifically, I want to make it attainable. It doesn't need to be this complex thing. It needs to be something that can be consistently done, every day or every week or whatever frequency. These numbers can change for however you really want to scale up.
So the first thing is post. I mean, what is a post?
A post really can be anything. I tend to, I don't really want to be something super salesy or like, hey, get a headshot for me today, or something like that.
Yeah.
I might share a little bit more thinking relationship-wise, like, oh, Dottie, I'll probably take a selfie here later and be like, I was on the show with Kim and Dottie. This is so cool, blah, blah, blah. So I want the post to be something that is talking a little bit about yourself, maybe your experience, or something that's valuable to the people who are going to read it. And to me, that's a post. And some key things to do in a post, tag people. So I'll tag each of you. I'll probably tag the Connect Show. Maybe do a hashtag, but I really want to do the tag your
Social tagging,
accounts.
yeah.
Yeah, your social tagging.
Amazing. I love that you say in here, avoid pitching your products or services in every single post. Please, people, listen to Paul. Avoid it, because you're going to lose half your followers, right? Like doing it that way. Like, it's not all a sales tool.
It's not really engaging, really.
Right.
Yeah.
I know you said engage was the second step. Does that just mean liking, and I know I've heard this, you shouldn't just do this, liking somebody's post or saying congratulations, but give us a little bit more depth on what you mean by engage.
To me, engaging is continuing the conversation of somebody else's post. So, Dottie, if you posted something about, the Connect Show, or Kim, if you did, and shared like this really fun highlight that you personally really loved and had an experience with, I want to continue that conversation. Yeah, it was so great listening to Eric talk about social media and the way that he kind of has optimized and got his strategy down. So continuing the conversation in the comments, I still just will like, or just will say congratulations, but I don't count that as my 3 to 5 per week. So it's just a matter of continuing the conversation.
What do you think about like a repost? Like, I personally love if somebody takes my contact and they took a second to repost it. Like that, I don't even care if they use words. Yeah. I'm like, you just put that out to your entire audience. That's amazing. And that brings me connections a lot. What do you think? Do you think that's engaging?
I wouldn't consider that engaging, but I would say that falls in line with the mindset of using LinkedIn or whatever social platform as a relationship tool. I just did that the other day. The Fisher House is looking for something, and like a real estate agent, and I said, hey, any real estate agents in my network, and just reposted it. So it's something that you're doing valuable to your network or to the person's post.
That's great, and I work super hard on building relationships. That's a big key for me. So ironically, the first or the final step is connect. You're on the Connect show. I think this is super important. We have to keep adding people, and you don't want to get stagnant, right? So what does this look like in your method?
Yeah, connect. Final step, I want to connect with 5 people a day. The purpose I want to do is, again, build those relationships. The people that I'd be connecting with will be people who are commenting on my posts. If I'm not a first-degree connection, then I'm going to be connecting with them. I'll go through and look at everyone who's liked my photos or my posts, and I'll connect with everyone I'm not connected with. If my post made an impact on them to like or comment, I want to be connected with them. And let's just say I'm connected with everyone who's engaging on my posts. Then I'm going to be looking for people that are at key companies that I want to do headshots in. So I'm looking for a marketing person or maybe a director of operations or something like that. And I'll put a note in with my connection request. Hey, I'm Paul. I just want to connect. Not pitching, not doing any of that. Again, it's all about building relationships. It's not about selling in this first step.
What's your perspective on what they refer to, and I know this might sound weird, but naked requests, naked connection requests that don't have any comment, where you don't put a comment at all. You wait to see if they connect, and then you actually start to engage in conversation. What's your perspective on that?
Sometimes I do that, and it's because I've had a conversation in the comments of someone's post. So we already have like but to your point, like a completely cold request, I don't mind that either. I get some of those, a lot of those, and then sometimes I do that too, and it's for the purpose of connecting with certain companies, Yeah. So I don't do a lot, but yeah.
Great tips. I love the don't sell in the first message, but I personally like to see or to give a message. A lot of times I get a lot of requests and I'm like, you're from Maryland. I've never met you, but you're connecting with me with no message. Out you go.
Right.
But I think those are good, really good tips. How long would this take for you to do every day? I mean, it seems like the 5 people per day, three to 5 times per week, 1 to 3 times per week. How?
Yeah, it's really not that intensive. Maybe 10, 20 minutes, maybe even less, 5 minutes. If you've got this rhythm down, it does not have to take long. You're only connecting with 5 people. It could be the people that are commenting. If you have your posts kind of planned out for the week, only 1 to 3 a week, it's attainable. Again, these numbers are just to be something that gets you consistent with LinkedIn or what other social platform you're using.
And I think the way that any of us social media people would say is consistency really is everything. So whether it is 1 time a week, that's okay, but be consistent and make sure you're still doing it that 1 time.
There was a time in December where I knew I wasn't going to be posting regularly. I wasn't feeling well, and it actually turned out that I was sick for a week, and then I was sick with something else for another week, and then I was sick with something else for another week, and my posts were all just about being sick. It was 1 post a week saying, you're not going to see me, I am sick, and then the next one was, I am still sick, And I put in a little comment about, what happens when we try to push through, because that's what I did, going to one of your events, actually. I just really plowed through and pushed through, and what happens to our bodies when we don't listen to them. And those got so much engagement.
Interesting.
Yeah,
it's
me telling people I was sick.
It doesn't have to be anything like amazing, the best idea since sliced bread or whatever. It could just be, I'm sick. It's all about that. It's real engagement.
Yeah.
That's cool.
It's amazing. So Paul didn't like this so much, but I called it the PEC strategy. He's like, So post, engage, connect. How can we support you? Being on the Connect show, what can we do for you?
Connect with me on LinkedIn. You'll see all my headshot work and all the stuff that I do, but connect with me on LinkedIn. I'm on Instagram. Those are my 2 main platforms. And Paul Hannon on LinkedIn. You'll definitely see me. I've got a great headshot. And then Instagram is Premier Headshots.
Absolutely beautiful. Wonderful to have you today. I love that you came here today. You have one thing as a business, but you're bringing tips that you learned in your business to help others. So thank you so much for that
Cool.
today.
Yeah,
Appreciate
absolutely.
it.
Thank you.
Absolutely. We are back for the Connect Show. Our partners in excellence, Sweet Connie's, today has made us some Mississippi mud pie, and we are going to talked a lot about social media today and the different things. So what I love about social media is building relationships and using it as a tool for networking. Do you all attend networking events?
Yes.
Yes.
That's
yes.
my jam.
Do you have a favorite? Let's give our favorites a shout out if you have a favorite, or even if you just attend one. Do you have a favorite?
I like 2, NAWBO, the National Association of Women Business Owners, and EWI.
I think the one that's been most engaging recently, I've been to some really bad ones. I won't name those.
Just don't name mine as one of the bad ones.
But one of the most fun ones that I've been to recently is the North Shore Chamber of Commerce. They do a morning mingle every month, and they just had an annual, not really a gala, but an annual party that was just so fun. And the people are just so friendly and so engaging, and it's been a lot of fun lately. So.
Amazing. Eric, do you attend networking or have a favorite?
Not too many these days. I will say I've really enjoyed the Young Guns in the past, and more recently, as I've kind of migrated myself into the outdoor category, Backcountry Hunters and Anglers has a Wisconsin chapter that centralizes around conservation. They do something called Pint Nights. And so a lot of hunters and anglers will get together over a pint, and we can network about the things that we do in the outdoors. So I enjoy
love
those.
that.
That's
I
very
love
cool.
that. Paul, how about you?
I like going to the MMAC, the Milwaukee Metro Area Chamber. They've got a handful of different events that I've really enjoyed.
Amazing. Well, I absolutely love networking, so much so you can go ahead and get started
okay. I
cutting the
wasn't sure if I
pie. We have Mississippi Mud today again. Thank you, Sweet Connie's. I run 2 different networking groups. So I have a women's only networking group, Professional Women of Wisconsin. And I also have Business Over Breakfast, which meets on the south side of Milwaukee twice a month. So I like to mix it up for everybody. All are welcome. And I really heavily focus on building relationships, and it's not come tell me how many referrals you can give, how many business cards you can collect. That's not the best way to build your network. So thank you guys for networking with us in person. This counts as networking, you guys, especially when you get to eat pie. So
Yeah,
enjoy
I'll take
it.
that.
And we will see you for some more pie next week.